I still remember the sound of the blender that morning. Loud, messy, chaotic. It felt like a warning sign, but I didn't see it then. I was too busy blending strawberries and oat milk, thinking about Christmas lights, cinnamon candles, and how this would be my first real Christmas as a wife. I'm Nyla, 29, from Atlanta, Black woman, graphic designer, lover of peppermint hot cocoa, and, back then, a believer in love more than logic. I had been married to Cameron for 8 months. 8 months of believing we were building something honest, something real. So when he walked into the kitchen that day, smelling like Dior Sauvage and smiling like he had good news, I expected something sweet. Maybe a surprise trip, a holiday necklace, a secret gift. Instead, he kissed my cheek, poured himself juice, and said it casually. "Hey, babe, my ex is coming to Christmas dinner with us." I turned around slowly, like my body was scared to face what my ears just heard. "You're what?" He was smiling. Smiling! My ex, Tiana, she's in town for the holidays. I invited her to join us at your mom's house. Isn't that cool? Cool? It felt like someone dropped a bowl of ice in my stomach. First Christmas as a wife. And he invites his ex? Like she was part of the family package? He looked at me, waiting for approval, like he expected me to clap for him. "Cameron, why would you do that?" He shrugged. "We're all adults, no drama. She's just a friend now. She's having a rough year and doesn't have family here. It's Christmas, babe. It's about kindness." Kindness. He used kindness like a shield. My hands tightened on the counter, nails digging into my palms. I wasn't jealous, not yet, but something felt off, a gut feeling, a warning bell. "You didn't think to ask me before inviting her?" He laughed a little. "I didn't think you'd mind. You're not insecure, right?" That sentence right there, that sentence is how women silence themselves. "You're not insecure, right?" Suddenly, we're afraid to set boundaries because we don't want to look jealous, petty, weak. And I swallowed my voice. I swallowed it with almond milk and strawberry foam. Cameron hugged me from behind. "Thank you for being so understanding. You're the most mature woman I've ever been with." Most mature. He gave me a title like a trophy, as if maturity meant tolerating anything. I remember nodding, even though everything in my spirit was shaking its head. My mom, a woman who reads souls like scripture, was in the living room wrapping gifts when I told her, "Ma, Cameron invited his ex to Christmas dinner." She didn't even pause. She didn't even lift her head from the gift bag she was tying. "And you said no, right?" I sat on the couch, small and quiet. "I didn't exactly say no." She stopped, looked at me with that face Black mothers have, the one that sees your future mistakes before you make them. "Baby, love don't mean letting folks cross boundaries." I shifted uncomfortably. "He says they're just friends." Mom raised an eyebrow. "And you believe that? Or did you just want to be the cool wife so he'd praise you?" Her words hit, like truth always does. Sharp, clean, honest. I wanted to talk to Cameron again. Wanted to say I changed my mind. But he kept repeating, "You'll love her. She's sweet." Sweet. He said it like a compliment, but something about it tasted bitter. The night before Christmas dinner, as I arranged macaroni, cornbread, and collard greens in the fridge, I caught Cameron smiling at his phone. He didn't notice me watching. He typed fast, too fast. Then he laughed, the kind of laugh I hadn't heard from him in months. And for the first time, I wondered, Did we invite a guest or a test? Christmas morning smelled like nutmeg and butter, the kind of warmth that hugs you from the inside. But my mind wasn't warm. It was pacing, watching the door, waiting for the person who should have never been invited. My mother was in the kitchen frying fish because, as she always says, we don't celebrate without food that sticks to the soul. I checked the table 3 times, fixed napkins, relit candles, not for Christmas, but for control, for something to feel right. Cameron walked in wearing a red sweater, fresh haircut, looking too excited, too eager, too invested. "You look beautiful, babe. Ready to meet Tiana?" I swallowed air like it was water. "I'm ready to host Christmas. That's it." He laughed lightly, not hearing the warning tucked inside my tone. He checked his phone again. That same smile from last night slipped across his face. My chest tightened. He was smiling too hard for someone who claimed, "We're just friends." The doorbell rang. My heart slowed, but my hands felt hot. Cameron rushed ahead like a teenager seeing his crush after summer break. I walked behind him, slower, like my spirit needed time to prepare. He opened the door, and she walked in. She saw me. She wasn't what I expected. No heavy makeup, no loud outfit. She walked in humble, soft-spoken, wearing a simple cream coat, curls pinned back, eyes warm like she knew how to make anyone trust her. But her beauty wasn't the loud kind. It was the kind that crept under your guard. She saw me and smiled carefully. "You must be Nyla, the wife." The pause before wife. That pause was a statement. I stepped forward. "Yes, I'm his wife. Welcome, Tiana." She looked at my ring, not my face. Her smile deepened, too knowingly. The table test. We sat down to eat. The room buzzed with holiday chatter, but my mother was silent, watching everything like a detective with a Bible. She was cutting salmon, but her eyes were cutting through souls. Tiana laughed at almost everything Cameron said. Not flirty, but familiar. Too familiar. Like they shared memories we were intruding on. At one point, Cameron said, "Tiana always loved my grandma's mac and cheese recipe." Tiana took a bite and nodded. "I did, every Christmas." Every Christmas. My fork paused midair. That wasn't just an ex. That was a tradition, a history, a ritual. My mother wiped her hands with a cloth, leaned forward slightly, and asked, "So, how long were you two together?" Cameron shrugged casually. 2, 3 years? Tiana corrected him without hesitation. 4. 4. 4 years. And he acted like she was some light holiday acquaintance. Mom shifted her eyes to me, then back at them. "And why did you break up?" Cameron hesitated. Just 1 second too long. Tiana spoke instead. "He didn't want commitment at the time." Commitment. My spoon hit the bowl too loudly. Cameron laughed nervously. "It wasn't like that." Tiana raised an eyebrow, slow and confident. Wasn't it? The tension was sharp enough to slice turkey. My mother looked at me again, not with pity, but caution. Later, in the kitchen, I reached for more cornbread. Tiana walked in behind me, alone. She waited until no one else was near. Her voice was soft, careful, like she was protecting herself while destroying me. "You don't have to worry. I don't want him back." My jaw tightened. "I'm not worried." She smiled lightly. "Good. But it's sweet he still checks on me. Texts me every holiday." Texts. Every holiday? My pulse hit my ears. I looked her straight in her gentle, calculated eyes. "Texts you? While married?" She blinked innocently. "I assumed you knew. Honesty matters in marriage." She didn't say it loud. She didn't say it cruel. She said it like she was the one who deserved honesty. Dinner ended with polite smiles and tight throats. Tiana hugged my mother goodbye, thanked her like she belonged here, and Karen walked her to her car, a little too far down the driveway. Their shadows stretched longer than the streetlight, like the past refusing to shrink. I didn't watch out the window. I didn't pace. I didn't ask questions. I just started cleaning the table, and silence became my armor. My mother came beside me, stacking plates. "You're too quiet." I wiped the table slow, circular, steady. Quiet keeps me from acting stupid. She put her hand on mine, stopping me. Quiet turns smart women into storm clouds. When you finally burst, make sure it rains where it's needed. She didn't know how accurate that was, because I was already gathering thunder. Cameron came home smelling like the cold air and cheap lies. His face was flushed from laughing too much, not at Christmas humor, but at her. He kissed the top of my head quickly. "You handled today perfectly. I'm proud of you." Proud of me, as if I'd passed some exam he invented. I sat on the bed, scrolling through nothing on my phone, letting his words sit on the dresser like spoiled fruit. "You and Tiana got along, right?" I didn't look at him. "She said you text her every holiday. That true?" He froze just long enough to confirm everything. "Nyla, come on, they're harmless texts. She went through depression last year, so I check in sometimes. It's compassion, babe." Compassion. He loved that word, used it like bandages to cover his secrets. He slid into bed. "You're not mad, are you?" I stared at the ceiling. "I'm listening." He sighed, relieved by what he thought was forgiveness. "You're amazing. Most wives would blow up over something small. But you trust me." Trust. He handed me that word like a wrapped gift with nothing inside. I didn't say thank you. I didn't agree. I just let him believe. Because the worst thing you can give a liar is peace. When he fell asleep, his breathing heavy and careless, I lay awake, waiting for that light snore he always gave at the 8th minute of sleep. When it came, I turned slowly, eased his phone from his hand, and held it like evidence. No passcode. Careless. Confident. Men who believe you'll never check aren't loyal, just comfortable. I opened the messages. Their chat wasn't new. It wasn't mild. 6 months of checking in? Vacation jokes? Old pictures he requested? Late-night memories? Heart emojis? Not romantic, but familiar. Intimate. Then one message hit me like a punch to the soul. "Sometimes I miss how easy it was with us. Cameron." Her reply. "Yeah, you didn't have to pretend so hard back then." Pretend? Pretend? Another message, days later. "She's good, but she doesn't get me like you did." My breath didn't shake. My heart didn't sprint. Nothing inside me crashed. It was worse than that. I felt nothing. It was a cold realization. He didn't just invite her to dinner. He invited the version of himself he missed more than he valued our marriage. The latest message was from the morning before dinner. "Can't wait to see you today. It'll feel like old times. Cameron." Old times. And her reply, "I'll behave, promise." Behave? That word twisted the knife. It meant she knew there were boundaries and still came smiling into my home. Quiet isn't always weakness. Sometimes it's a woman building her exit without making noise. I placed the phone back in his hand. I kissed his forehead, not lovingly, but like a seal on the end of something. "Good night, Cameron." He didn't hear it, but I didn't say it for him. He woke up, stretching, yawning like a man with nothing to lose. He looked at me, all soft-faced and satisfied. I handed him coffee. He looked pleased, relaxed.
He had no idea, because I had already decided. My silence had an expiration date, and today was the last day.
Morning light crept through the blinds, soft and gentle, the opposite of what was coming. I stood in the kitchen, my hand steady on the skillet, flipping pancakes like it was any ordinary day. That's the trick of a woman ready to leave. You don't storm out. You serve breakfast. Cameron walked in, yawning, rubbing his neck. "Morning, babe, you slept good?" I smiled without warmth. I slept clearly. He didn't catch it. He poured juice like a man with nothing to hide. "Today we should relax, maybe go see a movie." I placed pancakes on a plate in front of him. "Sounds great. Before that, let's talk about honesty." He froze. The fork stopped halfway to his mouth. I slid his phone across the table. Unlocked. Open to the messages with Tiana. He didn't look down at it. He looked at me. And that told me everything. Guilt doesn't need a screen. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't shake. That's what scared him most. You told her you miss the ease you had with her, that you don't have to pretend with her, that you couldn't wait to see her, that she understands you more than I do. His jaw clenched. His voice dropped. "Nyla, it's not what you think." I cut him off without volume, but with truth. "It's exactly what I think. You kept her close enough to feed your ego, but far enough to call it compassion." His mouth opened, but he had nothing. Silence confessed more than words ever could.
"You're blowing this up. There's no cheating, just conversation. You're overreacting." I breathed slowly, steady, too calm for his comfort. Cheating isn't only bodies touching. Sometimes it's hearts leaning someplace they shouldn't be. You leaned. You stayed leaning. He tried to sound firm. "You're reading too much into—" I leaned back, eyes sharp. "You don't text another woman that she understands you more than your wife. You don't talk about old times while planning a future with me. You don't compare me to her in messages and then call it kindness." His voice broke slightly. "It wasn't comparison, I raised a hand. "Cameron, if you've got to explain loyalty, you don't have it." His defensiveness cracked into panic. "So what, you're leaving me over messages? Really?" I stood up slowly, letting him feel every inch of my decision. "I'm leaving because you treated our marriage like a hobby, something to do, while you replayed old memories. Because you let another woman feel more secure than your wife. Because you kept emotional intimacy on layaway. Because you let your past sit at my mother's Christmas dinner table like she still had a future here." His voice rose. "You don't get it. She needed someone." I stepped closer, not angry, just done. "And you needed validation. Don't pretend it was charity." He collapsed into the chair, face in his hands, finally understanding what he'd lost. But I didn't comfort him. Women need to stop hugging men who break them. Picked up the small overnight bag I'd packed, quietly at 5 a.m. He looked up, eyes wide. "Where are you going?" I met his gaze without softness. "To my mother's. To breathe. To heal. To remember I'm not someone's emotional backup plan." Tears filled his eyes. Panic replaced arrogance. "Nyla, wait. I can fix this." I opened the door. "Then fix yourself." And I left. 6 months later, I wasn't bitter. I wasn't broken. I wasn't waiting on closure from a man who never knew what to do with honesty. I started therapy. I moved into my own apartment filled with eucalyptus and sunlight. I learned my worth isn't proven by endurance. It's shown by boundaries. One evening, after signing the divorce papers, I sat on my balcony with tea, feeling peaceful. My phone buzzed with a message from Cameron. I never realized what I had
until I lost it. I'll always love you. I typed back, love without respect is just a memory. Please take care. Then, I blocked his number. Not out of anger, out of growth.
Healing didn't make me colder, it made me clearer. If love requires you to shrink, ignore your intuition, or compete with someone's past, that's not love. That's imprisonment. And I chose freedom. Never forget, a woman who chooses herself never walks away empty. Like, share, and subscribe for more Soul Speak stories.